Hello, everyone. This is Mamiki. I'm here again with another SAP Code Talk. Today, we join Björn Schulz, who will be telling us a little bit about his journey within the SAP ecosystem and how he's been very active within the community and also what he does within his time. Björn, would you mind introducing yourself furthermore?
Yes, thank you, Mamiki.
Mm.
So I'm Björn. I'm software engineer at Rewe Digital at the moment, but also active in the German-speaking community, also as an SAP mentor, a blogger, YouTuber, but too many titles, I think. I call myself SAP developer because our role as ABAP developers changing. For example, when we also use Fiori elements and process automation, that's what I'm normally introduce myself as SAP developer in these days.
Thank you, Bjorn, for joining us for this code talk. So let's just start with your SAP journey. What first sparked your interest in SAP development, and like how did you get into it in your current role at REW Digital, WE Digital?
That's okay. Exactly. River Digital was a long way to this. I've started, I think, many years before with the training in Munich. This was my first introduction to SAP and the ABAP development language. I never heard before from SAP. That's the normal case when you are finished with school. So you are going to the world of programming and so on, and then you hear ABAP development the first time. So this was my first contact to ABAP development, and this was also my start into the development area of this. So after the training, I went also to Cologne for the next company, and I've learned many things. I think this was the part for me where I can deepen my skills into ABAP. I learned also many things about the functional side of SAP. I've done many things in financial module, or for example, in controlling the past years. And I think after all this time, when I started a new opportunity, this time at Rewe Digital, this was the time for me where the spark goes over, because then I've was more interested in the new topics. I've thought myself, I have missed so many things the last year. There was the modern development, the modern ABAP development, object-oriented programming. This was never a thing in the job before, because you only have to work what you need, so to say. And so I wanted to upskill myself. So this was the part where the passion begins for me, to look into all the new topics that are relevant this time, also unit testing and so on. And with this company, I'm also got into the German-speaking community, the SAG in this case, and I learned a lot of people to know, and we talked a lot about different coding examples and how to code and so on. And this was the time for me when I saw the ecosystem is much, much wider, and there is much more potential also to upskill myself, to learn the new topics that was modern these times. So this was my part into the SAP world, and also where the spark goes over for me.
That's awesome. And I know you spoke a little about your full-time job, but what you're also known for your blogs and the community platform Software Heroes. So like what inspired you to start that project, and like how do you balance that with your day-to-day work and having that as like your side project and something that you're passionate about?
That's right. For me, it was always a personal upskilling topic, because there were so many new topics, and I thought about are I the only person that has problems to learn all these new things, or how to remember how this works, and so on. And so I started to write it down, what I've learned so far, got into the new things, but also to get an overview for myself. So what should I learn the next time? Where are my gaps, for example, where I have to invest more in this case? So blogging was the first step. I thought, okay, I can learn it myself, but I can also share it with others. This was the first idea. So I also checked the SAP blogs, or SAP Community as it's known today. But for me, it was not the starting point, because I write many articles. So for me, I need a structure to structure things, to structure articles and so on. And that's a thing I can't do on the community platform. So I have articles. I see what articles I've written in the past, but I can't structure them to my thoughts or to my topics and so on. And so for me, it was the thing to do an own platform, to start an own platform. And I think now, I've checked before, we are now at nearly 400 articles that I've written the last years. And so this is too much to handle it. And so over a specific our own platform, it's much easier to handle this. But I think I've started very open. So at the beginning, I thought I will write about development, for example, only development, because in my free time, I'm also have done other languages. PHP is also a thing at the moment for me. Flutter development was also a thing. So I've wanted to write about development in a much broader area this times. But at the end, I think at the moment, it's much more the focus of ABAP development, SAP development, SAP technologies. It's more the focus of the platform. And there are also much small apps on the platform that should help the ABAP developers to their day-to-day challenges. So that's the thing, what's behind the blog. And to balance this with my daily life, I think, so I have invested many free time in this, weekend projects, afternoon projects where I invested to write, but I have also the happy, or I'm also happy about the trust of my company, because I get also the time in my company. I'm responsible for upskilling, for example, in the company. So I have many time to prepare examples, to watch the latest stuff, for example, to prepare it for our developers internally. So I have prepared the material at the end for the lessons into company, but I can also use them then for the blogs. So I haven't to do this all in my free time. I have something to work with. But there's also time to time where creating something at the afternoon, I will present it the next day in the company, for example. It's a given. I give it to the company company gives me time and so on. And so it's a day-to-day to balance all the things that are that you can read there at the end.
That's awesome, having a company that supports you and even your side projects as well. Now, you're very active in the SAP community, not just as a blogger, but also as a SAP mentor and a spokesperson for DSAG Development Working Group. And so I wanted to ask, like, what motivates you to stay engaged in your free time? What are those things that make you motivated to be able to just engage with the community and be so active in these, these groups?
Yes, I think at the beginning it was for me the example to give something back, because the last years before I've gone active in the community, I was more on the consumer side. I've seen many lectures, information sessions, events, and I've talked to people that give something to the community. So I thought to myself, it's a good time to give back something from me. That was the beginning where I've engaged into the community. And at the beginning, it was more about what projects have we done in the company, what's the actual tech stacks and so on. But I think at the current version of myself, I'm more in the way of giving also experience and insights in modern development, because I see many people have to be activated, to be motivated at this time, so that they maybe start also open source projects or do something more to learn a little bit more ABAP or more the actual skills, but also to activate them to also start their upskilling, because also in our company, there are many developers that I don't need the new stuff, but I think it's the typical way of a developer to educate themselves every day a little bit, so they get better and better in what they are doing in this job. And at the moment, there's also something like introducing new projects. I've made some open source components the last time, so I'm also introducing them to the community, show some demos and how-to sessions. I think that's the point. I'm actually being active in the community, because to showing how new things are working, how you can easily learn them. I think that's an important part at the moment with the community work.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, throughout your community involvement and DSAG work, you speak to many developers and companies. And what common challenges do you see when it comes to adopting new SAP technologies?
That's a good question for me. I think it's it's two topics that are nearly sticked together. I think it's the release of the company, but also the developers. So many developers that want to develop, for example, on a newer release have the problem that the company says, okay, we have an old release, but we don't know the actual tech stack, for example. And that is a point where you say, okay, the developer can't learn the new topics because the company isn't so far in this case, for example. This is the first thing, but the second thing is also when a company, for example, has the modern technologies, there are also developers that have problems to learn the new things, that don't want to learn the new things. I think that's the most challenging thing, to adopt the new things, for example. Also, I think SAP is very fast, is gone faster the last years to evolve the tech stack and also release new technologies to learn. I think it's possible, but it's gone faster. So as a developer, you should invest more time in educate yourself. And I think that's are the most two big problems you have on the market when you check the market, when you check the companies at the moment.
I agree. I agree. Now, you've written about the importance of evolving with new technologies while also staying rooted in core skills. How do you see that playing out for ABAP developers today, especially with SAP BTP?
It's a good challenge to use all the skills, but I think the core skills of ABAP development will be there at the end. So I've also talked with other companies about, is the ABAP developer needed in the future? Yes, he's needed, especially
Absolutely.
for BTP. And I think the ABAP environment, for example, is a good opportunity to continue developing with modern ABAP skills. So also on BTP, you can use your ABAP skills to develop modern applications. That is one point for me. But you have to upskill a little bit more, because then you have to think about, I need an API, for example, from another system. I need HTTP communication when I'm, for example, calling process automation at the end. So when I want to integrate the services that are available on the BTP, I need a little bit more skills than the typical ABAP developer to configure the system, to call the interface, to use the data from the interface. But I can also take all the skills I have from the on-premise system and can evolve it through the BTP to still use them as a base, for example. And at the end, I can use all the things I have learned in the past, reuse them on the BTP without, for example, need CAP, for example. This is also a typical thing we are discussing about, because you can say you are comparing both tech stacks. You have both tech stacks have their advantages or the disadvantages, for example. A disadvantage could be, for example, for CAP, you have to upskill your people so they can use the CAP stack. The RAP stack, for example, maybe has not the freedom that a CAP stack has, for example. This is something, it's typically, it's a discussion. It's also worth for a company to check this if they need both tech stacks, if they want to focus on one tech stack because they have the skills in the company, and they should decide if they want to enable their developers to use both or to focus on one. I think, and that's the big point, because many companies have the ABAP developers. So the upskilling for the ABAP developers is, I think, a little step. And for the other part, it's a little bit more, but it's always a decision in the company at the end.
Yeah, I agree. And now, like many developers, they're very curious about getting started and getting more involved within the SAP ecosystem, like through mentoring, blogging, and even speaking, like you have done. What would you say is to someone who is trying to get into it, and what is like the first step that you would recommend for them to get into the SAP ecosystem, whether it's just writing a blog post or being more involved within the community as a whole?
I think from my personal perspective, I've started also with the local user groups. It's a good starting point, because a local user group is speaking your language in most cases. And then you can engage with the community. You can, for example, get your first chance for a talk. I've started with a virtual talk, for example. It's easy when you have a topic or when you want to present a topic. So that's the first thing. You can go into the community, the local community, but you can also check the SAP Community blog posts. So there is many knowledge inside, but also when you see, for example, there's a topic not so well explained, for example, you can also say, okay, I know the topic very well. I will write a blog about it. So this will be the first thing to get into the community, but I also should say that I'm not a friend of AI content, so better don't let it generate by AI, write it on your own. So you will learn much more because you are dive into the topic, you learn how to describe the topic and so on. This helps much more to get into this topic of presenting something, but also explaining something. And I think it's the most important part at the end to educate also yourself is to explaining something. I think I've written it down in the blog some weeks ago. It's also the first part is always know a topic that you want to learn, then learn the topic at the second point. And the third point is mostly educate something else in this topic. And this is the point where you will learn the most, I think. And it's also with writing and so on. And when you're also on a SAP or a local user group event, you can also interact with the mentors or the champions. Normally, you will see them with their swag where they wear, for example, and you can talk with them. They are very skilled and professional. They know their topic, so you can engage with them. If you have questions, for example, you can also ask them. They will help you to maybe find the right direction into the community. That's also a thing. And I think at the last point, it's more a side thing, is about the meetups or the Stammtisch, for example. You will find many SAP people there. It's mostly not developers maybe, but there are many SAP related persons where I think they are always talking about interesting things of the SAP ecosystem, about projects, about things that are important also for the companies and so on. It's a nice opportunity to get also informations from the community. And I think that's a good chance to leave your own bubble. I always call it bubble because when you're working in a company, also I did in the past, you're always in this team that have a specific skill set, but it mustn't be the skill set others are using. For example, when you leave your own bubble, you will find people with other problems, I think, call it this way. And then you will learn much more from them. For example, this is for me how to engage with the community at the end.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like being in your own space, you don't get to be able to see what others are like, other problems other people are going through within their development. And even within the SAP community, that's also why that is there as well, to be able to read and answer questions for people. And being at these events, it's really helpful because you can be face to face with these mentors and champions that can help you and guide you. So I totally agree. Staying out of being in your own bubble doesn't really help. Being out and in those scenes is really helpful because you get to learn from others as well. Now, you spoke a little bit about this, but what are some recurring hesitations or misconceptions you hear from developers about moving to SAP Cloud or adopting that new like development model like RAP?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I have written 3 things for me. That's the most misconceptions is I've talked a little bit about with developers in the last time, and they always said clean core is only BTP. That's one misconception, I think, because clean core is not only BTP. It's you can also build it on premise without the BTP services. It's the fact for me because there are also companies also in Germany that say I can't go to the cloud because I have regulations and so on. And I say, but you can be clean core. Clean core is a thing when you are on an actual tech stack on a release 2022, 2023. You can set up your ABAP cloud in the system, and you can also be clean core. So clean core is not only BTP at the end. Clean core is also only on-prem possible at the end. And for me, the second step is ABAP Cloud don't work. So I think ABAP Cloud is a new topic, something heard about it, something tried it out and said, okay, it's not working for me because I have 100 modifications in the system and so on. But I think it's not only about the modifications at the end. It's not ABAP Cloud. For me, it's ABAP Cloud is also what you extend in your system, build your own application, build your own jobs. This is also ABAP Cloud. And the problem at the moment is that there are so many rules, guidelines, framework, best practices, and so on for the community. It's very much to read when you want to dig into the topic ABAP Cloud. And normally it helps when you have someone that explains it a little bit simpler to you. So you know where to begin, what to do, where can I build what. And when I have something that explains it easily to me, then I will understand ABAP Cloud isn't that hard. There are some things like the public APIs. I think it's always a topic when you say there are not all the public APIs I need. I think, okay, that's right, especially in modules that are a little bit smaller or more industrial specific, then it's the case. But you can always implement your extension the ABAP Cloud way. That's one thing. And also when you look at the developers, for example, there is many basic stuff you should learn for this, core data services, RAP, Fiori elements, and also the released APIs now. This is very much to learn. So it's more a thing of a learning curve. You must flatten the curve a little bit, learn everything a little bit more the day. And at the end, it will help you to also build your applications ABAP Cloud ready as you do it today with your report, or as you build your applications today, because it's only a thing of, do you know how to build it? And when you know it, you are also fast and you will also develop your applications at the end. And I think at the end, the third point for me is RAP development is very slow. This was also a point I've heard about, but it's also a thing of learning the framework, learning what you can do with the framework. And there are also many tools that will help you accelerate much faster in developing RAP applications. That's SAP have done the last years many things with RAP generators. Now I think it's now the third RAP generator is published now. There is the tool bridge to deploy your applications much faster into the systems. And at the end, it's only when you know the system, when you know the framework, and when you know your opportunities, you will also be as fast as you are today with your classic development. That's the third point for me.
Yep. And I love how you're able to also clear those misconceptions, and you cleared it up right afterwards. Now, finally, what are you personally most excited about when you think of the future of SAP development? Is it clean core, AI, more openness, or something else that's entirely different?
That's right. I think actually I should probably say AI, but it's not the focus from me. For me, it's maybe more the focus of what people using today. Today, AI is a very hot topic, I think, but not many people are using it because many companies are a little bit on other problems that they want to solve first. And I think first, it's for me, the next thing will be RAP, the evolvement of the RAP development framework, because I've developed now many applications with RAP, and I see there are some things missing that have to be integrated a little bit better. For example, the easier integration of remote sources when you have developed your RAP application on one system and you have a remote source, for example, a table, a core data service, or an OData service, to integrate it much better, much easier to model your application on the local system. That would help much, much more. And at the end, I'm also looking for the new table entities as replacement for the DDIC objects. So the DDIC is, I think it have now some years, but the core data service and the table entities, the new model that is coming is can do the RAP development a little bit easier, but you can also avoid the old stuff, call it old stuff, the DDIC stuff, because there are now much more flexible things are coming for RAP development. And I think the second thing will be clean core. So it will be the introduction of ABAP Cloud. I think it's the most thing that will personally introduce also in the company, ABAP Cloud, migration for existing application. I think that's the biggest part for the companies. You have so many old applications, you want to move them to ABAP Cloud. There is so much to do, but there is also so much to change in thinking, in the mindset, how to develop the applications at the end. And I think at the end, it's also the challenge between the customer and SAP to get all the public APIs we need at the end. I think there are also customers that are looking for going to public cloud, for example, but there are many APIs missing. And I think that is the biggest challenge also between SAP and customers, to get all these public APIs, to get good public APIs for the system, so that we can go clean core, that we can go public cloud at the end. So that's the big thing for the next years also for development.
Yeah, I'm excited for those changes, and hopefully, we can see some of those changes happen as well. And I guess my last question, not related to anything that we have talked about, but we usually, at the end of these SAP Code Talks, we usually ask a fun question. And this season of SAP Code Talk, the question is, what fruit could you not live without? That if there was only one fruit that you can have for the rest of your life, what would it be?
For the rest of my life?
Yeah, and you can't have anything else. Which one you cannot live without?
I always need a PC with internet. That's the thing.
That was a good one.
I always need it, because else I can't develop anything, or I can't try out anything. So development is a very big part of my life. Development, try out something, learn something new, and I think that would be the most challenging thing if I don't have it at the end.
Now, you said PC, and I totally agree with that. But now I'm saying which type of fruits.
Oh,
like apple, fruit. Orange, grapes.
Oh, I normally said no fruit, because I have a problem with fruit sugar.
Oh, well, then we'll take the PC then. That's a good answer. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, because I can't eat any fruit at the moment, so maybe the PC is better for my stomach.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bjorn, for taking the time to be one of our speakers for the SAP Code Talk. It was really great speaking with you, and looking forward to seeing what you come up with, and looking forward to reading all of your blog posts. And I'll be able to put the link of where people can find you, and where your blog post is, and how they can reach out to you. Thank you again for taking this time out and speaking with us, and I hope you have a good day.
Yes, thank you for having me, and enjoyed the session.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was really